Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Everyone, so 33-year-old New Jersey resident Julian Khater traveled to D.C. with his co-defendant, George Tanyos, and they took 2 canisters of bear spray and 2 canisters of pepper spray with them. While they were at the Capitol on the Lower West Terrace, Khater was seen and heard on video reaching into Tanyos' backpack and saying, quote, "Give me that bear shit." Tanyos replied, quote, hold on, not yet, it's still early." But Khater continued to argue, and he said, quote, "They just fucking sprayed me." Then Khater and Tanyos were seen arguing a little bit, and then at one point, Tanyos kind of lunged for the canister that Khater was holding. The prosecutor said, though, that it looked as though Khater had calmed down, and so the two of them kind of separated again, and 6 minutes later, Khater weaved through the crowd until he reached the front of the police line. While he was there, he just stood motionless. He waited. He didn't say anything. He wasn't doing anything. He was just kind of observing what was going on. And then when other members of Trump's mob attached long straps to the barricades that police were standing behind, and they started to pull the barricades away from the officers, that's when he took his chance. That's when he decided to strike, while the officers were distracted. So, while they're watching this barricade heist going on, Khater unloads his pepper spray at the officers. He sprayed at least 3 officers at close range for a full 30 seconds or more, and he sprayed other officers from a distance. And Khater only stopped because a lieutenant saw what he was doing, and the lieutenant came in from his right side and sprayed him with police chemicals. It was too late, though. Khater's attack successfully broke the police line. There were numerous officers who were unable to see. They were incapacitated at that point, and so they were quickly overrun by the mob. So that particular breach allowed the mob to access the stairs leading to the Upper West Terrace and the Capitol doors on that side of the building. And one of the officers assaulted by Khater was Brian Sicknick, who, as you guys likely know, he passed out that night. He was transported to the hospital, and Officer Sicknick remained on life support until he was tragically pronounced dead at 8:51 p.m. the following night on January 7th. But he passed out the night of January 6th. So it was determined that Sicknick suffered 2 strokes, and the coroner said that his death was the result of natural causes, but it also states in the coroner's report that the events of January 6th contributed to Sicknick's cardiovascular condition. Another officer who Khater sprayed directly in the face was Caroline Edwards. She spoke in the January 6th committee hearings. You guys probably remember her. Officer Edwards was looking in the other direction when Khater basically snuck up on her and he doused her right in the eyes. So she couldn't see it all. She had to be taken to safety by another officer. And then the third officer doesn't want to come forward, doesn't want his name out there for obvious reasons. So Khater was arrested on March 15th of 2021, and he was indicted on charges of conspiracy to injure an officer, assaulting a federal officer with a dangerous weapon, civil disorder, obstructing an official proceeding, entering restricted grounds, disorderly conduct on restricted grounds, physical violence on restricted grounds, and physical violence on Capitol grounds. And all of the restricted grounds charges included a sentencing enhancement for the use of a deadly or dangerous weapon and causing significant bodily injury. In September of 2022, Khater pleaded guilty to 2 counts of assaulting officers using a dangerous weapon. So he was facing up to 20 years in prison, 3 years of probation, and $250,000 in fines. The prosecutor, however, requested only 90 months in prison, 3 years of probation, and $2,000 in restitution. And a group of approximately 50 Capitol officers attended his sentencing hearing. This was just last week, along with Officer Sicknick's family and with his longtime partner. Sicknick's mother spoke at the hearing, and she told Khater in part, quote, You, among all the other crazies, you are the reason Brian is dead. She also accused Khater of going after her son, quote, like an animal. And she asked him, quote, did you feel like a tourist, Mr. Khater, watching my son fighting for his life? And then Mrs. Sicknick added, quote, lawlessness, misplaced loyalty, and hate killed my son. I hope you are haunted by your crimes behind bars. Whatever jail time you receive is not enough. Then Mrs. Sicknick went after the rest of Trump's terrorists. She said, quote, all of you bear responsibility for the injuries sustained by Brian's fellow officers, the broken bones, head trauma, and the continuing mental anguish they suffer and will endure for the rest of their lives. Imagine that emotional pain that would cause someone to take his own life. 4 officers committed suicide. You and your movement caused their deaths. And as I shared with you guys recently, Officer Sicknick's family and his partner, as Brian Sicknick's estate, are suing Khater, Tanyos, and Donald Trump for wrongful death. Khater spoke on his own behalf in court, and he's one of the very few January 6 defendants who's been held in pretrial detention since his arrest. And he told the judge that his 684 days in custody have been, quote, a long, agonizing, but humbling experience. Then Khater added, quote, what happened on Jan 6, there's no words for it. It's unfortunate, and I wish I could take it all back. Unfortunate? Really? Yeah, okay. Wouldn't really use that word, right? Unfortunate is like leaving the light on in your car and then trying to get in and go somewhere and realizing, oh, the battery's dead. Now I've got to jump the battery. That's unfortunate. Indirectly causing a man's death is not what I describe as unfortunate. Anyway, U.S. District Judge Thomas Hogan presided over Khater's case, and in court he said, quote, it just does not compute with me, this type of activity, and people thinking they can do this because they disagreed with the results of the election. Judge Hogan also called out Khater for not mentioning Officer Sicknick at all in his statement to the court, and he told Khater, quote, I didn't hear any expressions of sorrow. Your thoughtful statement right now did not really include any apology to the officers you sprayed. I didn't hear any expression or sorry about the employees of the Capitol, many who hid for their lives and resigned and never came back to work. Khater interjected, and he told the judge that he wanted to mention Officer Sicknick specifically, but he was discouraged from doing so because of the pending lawsuit against him. In issuing his ruling, the judge stated, quote, there are officers who lost their lives. There's officers who committed suicide after this. There's officers who can't go back to work. Your actions are inexcusable. When all was said and done, Khater was sentenced to 80 months in prison and a $10,000 fine. And Khater will receive credit, unfortunately, for the 22 months he's already served. So this is among the longest sentences handed down so far to a January 6th defendant, and it's well-deserved. And here's what gets me. This guy tried to blame, or at least his attorneys did, the fact that he has lifelong anxiety that he's dealt with. He said, you know, his family, or his attorney said, his family fled the war in Lebanon. Their vehicle was almost blown up. This was while they were driving, trying to get away. He was a child, and it left him with anxiety. I feel for him. I do. And what he lived through as a kid. We in America have never known that. But I don't really buy the whole anxiety excuse, because if you truly have anxiety or some sort of PTSD from a war, why would you purposely choose to insert yourself into another situation that looks like a war? If anything, he'd arrive at the Capitol, he'd look around, you know, he'd hear the flashbangs going off, he'd see the chaos, the fighting, he'd hear the sirens, and he'd want to get the hell out of there as soon as possible. So no, sorry, not buying it. Anyway, guys, I will let you know if I hear any more. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please donate. Please become a monthly supporter if you possibly can. Really means the world to me. Love you all. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.